He landed in Manila certain of one thing. This would be easy. The Australian prodigy had built a reputation crushing regional tournaments across Oceania. Sponsors followed him. Cameras followed him. Confidence followed him. What he did not expect was resistance. What he did not expect was history. Before the week ended, the narrative of global esports would tilt quietly toward a country he barely respected. In early 2026, the Asia-Pacific Invitational was scheduled in the heart of Metro Manila. It was marketed as a celebration of emerging talent. For the Australian star, it felt like a promotional stop, a chance to expand his brand, a chance to remind Southeast Asia, who dominated the server. The headlines back home predicted a sweep. Few imagined a confrontation waiting beneath the neon lights. He arrived with swagger. In interviews, he smiled politely but spoke plainly. Filipino Esports, he suggested, lacked discipline. Too emotional. Too chaotic. He respected their passion, he said, but not their structure. Clips from past victories rolled across social media, showing him dismantling opponents with mechanical precision. The comments were sharp but subtle. Enough to sting. Enough to travel. Online, Filipino fans noticed. Players noticed more. Across internet cafes in Quezon City and dorm rooms in Cebu, screenshots circulated quietly. No dramatic responses. No public outrage. Just a growing resolve. The visiting champion had mistaken warmth for weakness. He had mistaken enthusiasm for inexperience. What he did not see was preparation unfolding behind closed doors. The Filipino team entered the tournament without flashy sponsorships. Their jerseys were clean but simple. Their training facility was modest. They called themselves Haribon, named after Philippine Eagle. Their captain spoke softly during pre-tournament interviews. He thanked the organizers. He welcomed international competition. He avoided the provocation entirely. Confidence in his voice did not need volume. Haribon's roster came from different corners of the country. One from Davao, one from Baguio, two from Manila, another from Iloilo. They met online years earlier, grinding ranked ladders after school and after work. Internet outages were common. Power interruptions happened. They adapted. Their chemistry formed in chaos. Their communication became instinctive. They studied the Australian meticulously, his aggression patterns, his map rotations, his tendency to overcommit when ahead, while he streamed confidently to thousands, analyzing hypothetical matchups. Haribon remained offline. Their scrims were private. Their strategies layered and patient. They were not building a highlight reel. They were building endurance. Opening day felt routine for the Australian. He swept his first opponent decisively. The crowd applauded politely. Commentators framed it as expected dominance. Between matches, he laughed with his coach, relaxed. Across the arena, Haribon fought through a tight series against a Korean squad. Surviving by inches, they celebrated quietly, shaking hands with composure. By the third day, brackets narrowed. Fate placed them on opposite sides of the semifinal stage. Analysts favored experience, international ranking, individual skill ceiling. Haribon's odds were slim on paper. Yet as warm-up screens flickered across the stage, something shifted. The arena felt heavier. Anticipation pressed against the lights. The first game began with predictable aggression. The Australian surged forward, executing clean mechanics. Early objectives fell in his favor. Commentators praised his tempo. Then, slowly, Haribon began to trade space rather than contest. They conceded small advantages to protect larger ones. Viewers watching closely sensed intention, not panic. Mid-game arrived and the rhythm changed. A coordinated flank from Haribon caught him overextended. It was precise, not flashy, just exact timing. The crowd inhaled. The kill feed shifted. Momentum tilted slightly. The Australian leaned back in his chair, surprised but unshaken. One mistake, he seemed to tell himself. Nothing more. Game 2 intensified. He adjusted aggressively, pushing harder, faster. Haribon responded with discipline. They absorbed pressure and countered in narrow windows. A decisive team fight near the final objective turned the series level. Cameras caught his expression tightening. Confidence remained, but certainty began to thin. Between maps, the Filipino captain closed his eyes briefly. No speeches, no theatrics, just steady breathing. Across the stage, the Australian paced behind his chair, replaying scenarios with his coach. The narrative of inevitability was beginning to crack. Game 3 became a study in patience. Haribon slowed the tempo deliberately. Vision control, resource denial, small incremental leads. The Australian searched for explosive plays to regain dominance. Each attempt was anticipated, countered. Gradually, frustration surfaced. His mechanical brilliance remained sharp, but the openings he relied upon disappeared. When the final engagement erupted, it lasted less than 20 seconds. Haribon executed flawlessly. Cooldowns aligned. Positioning held. The Australian's avatar fell first. Silence swept across the arena before erupting into disbelief. The underdogs had taken the series. Social media shifted instantly. Clips spread beyond the Philippines. Analysts reframed the result as an upset. Yet inside the venue, it felt less like chaos and more like correction. Haribon did not celebrate wildly. They bowed slightly toward the crowd. Respect returned the same way it had been withheld. Quietly, the final placed Haribon against a seasoned Japanese roster. Fatigue lingered. Expectations suddenly weighed heavy. Across the world, Australian viewers tuned in again, some skeptical, some defensive. The narrative was no longer about one man's dominance. It was about whether a local team could sustain belief. The series stretched to 5 games. Each map demanded composure beyond their years. Haribon adapted continuously, rotating strategies mid-match. Their synergy held. Their communication never fractured. When the final objective fell in their favor, the arena erupted with something deeper than celebration. It was recognition. The trophy ceremony felt surreal. The Philippine flag rose behind the stage screens. The captain lifted the silver cup with steady hands. Cameras searched for tears for dramatic collapse. Instead, there was gratitude. Quiet smiles. Teammates embracing one another as if completing unfinished work. The Australian watched from the wings. His semifinal loss had not been loud, but it lingered. He approached the stage afterward, offering handshakes. Microphones caught his words clearly this time. He admitted misjudgment. He acknowledged structure. He spoke of discipline he had underestimated. Back home, interviews changed tone. He described the Philippines not as emotional, but resilient, not chaotic, but adaptive. His defeat had exposed blind spots in his preparation and perspective. For the first time, he spoke less about individual mechanics and more about collective intelligence. Within weeks, international teams began scouting Southeast Asia more seriously. Scrim requests multiplied. Investment inquiries increased. Analysts revisited past tournaments, questioning assumptions about competitive regions. The upset became a reference point, not a fluke. For Haribon, life shifted gradually. Sponsorships arrived. Training conditions improved, yet their routines remained familiar. Early practice, review sessions, community meetups. They visited small internet cafes where they once competed locally, reminding younger players that infrastructure matters less than discipline. In schools across Manila and beyond, conversations changed. Parents who once dismissed gaming as distraction began to see possibility. University programs discussed structured esports curricula. The narrative expanded from entertainment to opportunity. Months later, the Australian returned to Asia for another tournament. This time his interviews carried restraint. He spoke carefully about opponents. He studied regional play styles with seriousness. Confidence remained, but it was grounded differently. When asked about the Manila loss, he did not deflect. He called it necessary, a moment that corrected arrogance before it calcified. He described the semifinal not as humiliation, but education. Haribon continued to compete internationally. Some tournaments they won, others they lost narrowly. But the label of underdog no longer defined them. They had altered perception, not through noise, through execution. Esports in 2026 grew increasingly global. Talent pipelines expanded beyond traditional powerhouses. The Manila Invitational became a case study in scouting reports and broadcast retrospectives. It marked a shift toward genuine inclusivity, driven by performance, not marketing. What happened on that stage was not merely an upset. It was a recalibration, a reminder that preparation thrives where resources are scarce, that humility often hides behind quiet introductions, that dominance without respect carries blind spots. An Australian champion arrived expecting an easy victory. He left having witnessed something larger than a loss. He witnessed a country proving itself not through defiance, but through discipline. And in the glow of that arena, Filipino esports did not ask for validation. They earned it